Hey guys, you're back here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we're talking about femininity, female topics, and basically menstrual blood and menstruation and how that applies to witchcraft, okay? So, this is the second part. I already talked about it for about 28 or 29 minutes. This is part 2. I'm going to be finishing what I had to say off the top of my head, and then doing a little reading. And then when Alex gets home, I will be reading from one of my very favorite websites on the topic, which is called The Fountain of Life. So let me get back into my thoughts so that I can tell you all those, and then we'll read. So also, you can add your menstrual blood to your third eye, just a dot of it right over, because that's a great way. Ancient cultures would use it to directly communicate with their ancestors, because every single bit of your ancestral history is in the stem cells and in your menstrual blood, okay? Again, it's like liquid gold. You can also put it there to draw over your third eye to heighten meditations, to see clearer onto the astral plane, and more. I mean, there's a lot of things that it can do. I don't know all of them, but there's a couple. You can add a couple of drops. Now, a little bit goes a long way to a plant or a plant familiar that you may have, or a sick plant. Everybody knows that people add blood meal to plants and it keeps them healthy. Well, menstrual blood can heal a plant that's dying. You probably want to dilute it with a lot of water, a couple of drops with a lot of water. I've learned my lesson testing around with that. But again, it's going to a source where you're not putting it down the toilet. It is a precious substance. It is a sacred substance. And it is so, so magical. And that's a part of you. You want to pour it either into the earth or into some plant or part of video 1, what I talked about, okay? But those are some beautiful ways outside of putting it in the toilet or in a tampon in the public restroom, okay? Okay, and you know what? It's a great time. Like, we're talking about embracing our femininity, not looking at it as a dirty or gross thing ever again, because it's the complete opposite. And whoever made up standards and rules, and Hollywood, wants us to view it as dirty and gross and shameful. And that makes me mad right there. Shameful? Of something that happens naturally that's so flipping gorgeous, okay? No longer promise me as my friend and my family member here on my YouTube channel that you will never again be ashamed of your periods or look at your loved ones who have periods, if you don't, in a shameful way again, or a gross or ew. Shame on you if you do, after you learn about all the things I have to say about it. Okay? But I don't judge, but I might say shame on you. Okay, so, and in that note, teach your female children. My daughter is about to turn 12, and she's very, very, very emotional and on the brink of cray, and doesn't want anything to do with us, and is so emotional and cries for no reason, and she says that, I don't know why I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm going to teach her, and I have been teaching her, that this is a beautiful thing, what's going to be happening to you. Talking about it like it's a lovely thing with smiles, telling her that when it happens, we're having a very private family party. You be the one to teach your female children as they grow into their moon to celebrate every moment of it, and tell them that they, even just tell them as children that it's like magic and you have a power that nobody else does. And it doesn't have to be a witchcraft thing you're talking about, but kids totally refer to those things as normal everyday things because it's part of what they know. They're kids, they're closer to reality, the real reality, under the veil, you know? Okay, so let's start bringing up our female and our male children. Start teaching our male children that once that happens, ha-ha to everybody who thinks it's gross because they just don't know, you know, like, let's find a way to do it, though, and make our children, like, start to flourish in a good way about periods and think of them in a really positive way. Another thing that's cool to do is gather with women. The closest women to you'll probably sync up to. Gather for a ritual to celebrate it, you know? And if you're a witchcraft woman, then you're probably already doing it. You can add it to the earth to a special spot for meditations, like take your Luna cup out of your body, walk it outside, and then pour it into the earth, and light a candle there with it, and, you know, like, for instance, you may have a cycle, and maybe it's 2 or 3 days. You're only going to get, like, 4 of these cups half full, you know, like, because you'll, you know. And so you don't lose a ton of blood. I don't know if women know that because you don't actually look at it because it's absorbed into a tampon or like absorbed into a maxi pad or whatever. When you can see it in these Luna cups, it's really cool to see. I'm sorry if this sounds gross, but it's just not, you guys. You can see the consistency. You can see if there's clotting. If there's clotting, you know there's a problem in your body. You know, these are things that my naturopath tell me to look out for because she's so excited I got a Luna cup, you know. And I talked to her about ingesting it, and she said that there are definitely precautions. So you do have to talk to your doctor. You can't just willy-nilly just drink it, okay? I mean, you can do whatever you want, but my doctor does not suggest that. She says it could be really dangerous. But you learn a lot about your body when you can look at what comes out of you. You can see the actual color of it. You can see, you know, you can use it for ink. That is a really cool thing to do. Writing petitions in your menstrual blood. You almost always get exactly what you petition out in the law of attraction in your menstrual blood. Okay. I don't even know if we're going to get the reading in. There's so much to say. Okay, add it to earth. Or you can add it if you don't have a special meditation spot outside, an outdoor altar, anywhere where you do outdoor things. It's your DNA, your stem cells, and all your family ancestry from the beginning of time. So when those things bond to the earth, you will be much more attuned with the earth. You'll start to see things in beauty just like they do in True Blood after they drink the V, which is so funny because they were drinking blood. True Blood is like this vampire series from HBO. But anyway, they saw the universe, they saw Gaia as this whole other thing that they hadn't before. They heard things that had always been there, but they just didn't see. And once you add your blood to the earth, and then you sit with it again, when you sit with it and sit over it, where you added it a month before or whatever, the vibrations, like, having a hard time not crying right now, but like, so heavy vibrations, you know? So I feel like even if you were, like, missing your period for a while, you could sit on that spot, like, if they've, like, you didn't have them for a couple months for whatever reason, you could sit on that spot and kind of regain that energy, I feel. And I pour mine right at the base of this beautiful tree right on the roots, because that's where I sit to meditate. So, yeah, that. Yeah, an intern will completely heighten your strength of your spell work and your attunement with the goddess, the earth. You can add it to, like, a clear top coat nail polish, and when you're doing your spell work, when you're you're pushing your energy out. You're doing it through your menstrual blood at the end of your fingers, your DNA, your stem cell, your ancestry. You're working with all of that right in there. Oh my gosh, if you do this, you will attract a lover. Like, you will probably, even if you're a woman and you're beautiful, and you'll probably, and you don't even have to be beautiful. You will look like a goddess to everyone, including straight women, if you put your menstrual blood in here. So, if you're trying to attract a lover, I'm just saying, all people will be attracted to you if you do that. And it doesn't have to be a lot, like, not a lot. Like, pour out, or use this until a third of it's gone, okay? And then there's 2/3 polished, and then you just fill the rest up and shake it. It's going to be a light pink. So, a quarter full of your Luna cup in there or something, but it works, and it's like, works for this, and it works for attraction. So you need to be ready to take that off so that you don't have somebody like stalking you. So be careful, but it will definitely work for that reason. Why am I getting up? Can do no blood and just... Yeah. You can do no working with your blood at all. And you can just and you can change nothing about the way you do your periods. You can keep using whatever method you have been. And only take my advice to harness the energy that your body has at that time. Okay? Yeah, just Hollywood and government and men and women and high priestesses and all this, like, even in current times, they're making our periods look gross to suppress our power. And that is my true belief. So, that's all I want to talk about, into that, because we need to do reading. First, we're going to read out of a little book by Stella Demania called Sex Spells. The Woman and Her Moon. On the days before menstruation, a larger quantity of hormones circulated in the female body, not only increasing her emotions, but also her magical power. During menstruation, this extra power leaves her body. For that reason, menstruation is the most potent time for woman magically, and the power of the menstrual blood, along with other sexual secretion, that's for another video, though. You can save sexual secretions. Can be used in many ways. Blood has always been seen as one of the most potent seals on a vow to many cultures. But used magically, it also has many other uses. It can anoint and consecrate your magical tools. I consecrate my wand in blood. Yes, I do. Or charge candles, cords, parchments, like we talked about, ink, and a drop of blood on the finger could also be used to draw a symbol of power. So put the blood on the finger and... In all cases, the blood carries the magician's life force essence, with this used, which is used to impart that energy elsewhere. The use of menstrual blood in spells ensuring a husband's sexual fidelity is common in ancient and modern women's folk magic, including Italian stegaria, Mexican brujeria, and African American hoodoo. One way you can incorporate this practice yourself is to dab a little menstrual blood onto an amulet or talisman, which you can then give to your partner to ensure he or she will not stray. Of course, a less controversial way of ensuring a partner's fidelity is to simply to work on maintaining the sexual spark and strength between you. And what better method of achieving this than to use an aphrodisiac? And then it talks about aphrodisiacs. I've done videos on aphrodisiacs, look them up. Okay, so now we're going to talk about menstrual blood because we have time. We have time! This is from Raven G's Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft. Did I say about this necklace? I don't think I did. I put it on the minute that I get my period, and I wear it all through the night for as long as it lasts, the whole entire time, and then I take it off when I don't have my period, and then I never ever wear it unless I have my period. Like, I bought it just for that because it's in the shape of a moon, and I mean, my moon, blah blah blah. So I just wanted to say that because it was on the table and I might have forgotten. Okay, so we're going to read from the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft and Wicca by Raven G about menstrual blood. Here we go. Menstrual blood is one of the sacred liquids of witchcraft and is often known as the blood of the moon. In the ancient mystery teachings, we find that menstrual blood was more than the indicator of a woman's fertility cycle. The vagina was viewed as a magical portal through which life issued forth from a mysterious inner source. In matrifocal religion, I don't know what that is, it was a portal of both physical regeneration and spiritual transformation. Women are more attuned to their psychic nature than men. Women are more attuned to their psychic nature during menstruation. And because the flow of menstrual blood tends to absorb astral energy, did you hear that? Women are also better at healing others during this time. That's a biggie. Because the flow of menstrual blood tends to absorb astral energy, women are also better at healing others during this time. That's a biggie. Okay. This is because illness is first reflected in the astral body and lingers in the energy field of the aura. Thus, a menstruating woman can absorb another's astral energy and ground it through her own physical bleeding. Oh, story time. I got one if we have time. Once the blood is put into the earth, the energy is neutralized and healing can begin within the aura of the unhealthy person. Menstrual blood was also used to fertilize seeds for planting, passing the essence of the life force into them. Fields were sometimes sprinkled with a mixture of water and menstrual blood to encourage growth. The seeds and plants absorbed some of the energy before the soil neutralized the etheric charge. Female shamans also passed magical charges into the planted fields through menstrual blood, designed to influence the group mind of the community feeding upon the harvest. Interesting. It is interesting to note that during the Middle Ages, witches were often accused of bewitching crops. Another function of menstrual blood was to anoint the dead. This was believed to assure their rebirth due to the life-giving properties of blood that is issued forth from the portal of life itself. During the Neolithic period and early Bronze Age in Old Europe, the Argian region saw the creation of round tombs with small openings oriented to the east, the quarter of the rising sun. These tombs represented the womb of the goddess, and the opening was her vagina. Sacred blood bowls were used to collect menstrual blood for anointing the dead. These were sacred vessels of fertility, light, and transformation. The dead were anointed with menstrual blood and their bodies placed into the tombs. The light of the rising sun was a symbol of renewal and regeneration as it penetrated the opening of the tomb, the solar phallus entering the lunar vagina. I should write a spell based on this whole thing here. I would really like to. Later in history, these earthen tombs evolved into fairy mounds, remnants of the cult of the dead. I will be right back. Just a moment. I really want to hear comments, you guys, on what you think about all these things. And please remember, I don't judge. Okay. So yes. Now we are on to In Sacred Pleasures. Sex myth and the politics of the body. Rain Alster recounts how prehistoric funerary rites and ceremonies included sexual acts. Such acts were designed to connect the tomb with the energy of procreation. Spiral symbols were often marked upon Neolithic tombs as symbols of regeneration. They also symbolized the shamanistic transformation of consciousness that employed hallucinogenic mushrooms. Mushrooms have a reputation as an aphrodisiac, and their similarity to male genitalia was certainly obvious to the ancient Europeans. Yeah, that's funny, totally. Let's just look at a mushroom and think of phallic. Oh boy. Alright. The quickness with which mushrooms swell up and then ebb away also contributed to its association with the phallus. I'm a total child. I would just laugh at everything that I can't help it. Thus, we can easily relate ecstatic dancing with the burial rites of blood magic. In the mystery teachings, blood magic is connection to the phases of the moon. The full moon initiates ovulation, told ya, and is symbolic of the transformational powers of lunar energy, and therefore feminine energy, because of its fertile aspect in a woman's cycle. The full moon is the time of the mother. During this phase, it is best to formulate and visualize whatever is desirable in one's life. Magical images take root during this phase, and the blood is charged with whatever thought forms may be directed to it. That is so important to remember. During this phase, it is best to formulate and visualize whatever is desirable in one's life. Magical images take root during this phase, and the blood is charged with whatever thought forms may be directed into it. Okay, if you're thinking a bunch of negative stuff, that is charged. That's insane, you guys. We really need to think about the way that we're thinking and how it affects our whole lives. Even our todays, tomorrows, our full month, our cycle, our fertility, all of it. Okay, another video though. The waning moon. So the waning moon is when it's getting smaller. When it's going from full down to new. We're doing a different video. Okay, guys, I gotta focus. I gotta really bring it in. So the waning moon moves that which was conceived during the full moon toward manifestation. It is time to make those connections with the physical world that will assist the flow of related energy towards one's desires. The new moon releases the charged blood from the magical cauldron of the womb. Did you know that a cauldron is a symbol of a womb? The magical energy is now spent, and it is time for reflection and turning inward. The waxing moon is a time of potential, a time to read and study, preparing the fertile soil for the womb for the magical seed that will be planted by the full moon. Oh, come on, Jennifer, read faster. Positive attitudes toward menstruation are important both to the female and to the society that empowers her. Within some cultures, no negative associations appear connected with this time of menstruation. Instead, a woman's first menstrual blood is celebrated through a festival called Ilima, which involves the entire village. After her first menstruation, being blessed by the moon again in the future is simply viewed as a natural part of the woman's life and warrants no further ceremony. No taboos are connected to a woman's time of menstruation among this culture, and this perhaps best reflects the ancient non-Judaic Christian mentality. The blood flow and its seizing are both intimately connected to the woman's mysteries. Menstruation, pregnancy, childbirth, and menopause are all aspects of the life cycle of all women. Blood, or its absence, naturally marks the transformational stages of a woman, from the breaking of the hymen to the blood of childbirth to the cessation of bleeding at menopause. Understanding the inner tides of women and the factor that influence them is an important question. Chris Knight tells us that primitive forest-dwelling humans slept in treetops beneath the night sky, where the light cycles of the moon patterns the menstrual cycles of women. Knight's research indicated that the majority of women begin menstruating during the new moon phase and ovulate at the time of the full moon. Also states that women who live and sleep outdoors, away from artificial lights, that's the big one, you guys, I forgot to say, other than electronics, it's also artificial lights. It's hard to reset. Are in tune with this cycle. Knight presented some interesting findings complied from the research, well-known researchers in women's biology. A study of the cycle links 270,000 women representing all ages of reproductive life revealed the following data. The highest single percentage, 28% of women in the study menstruated during the new moon. The second highest percentage menstruated during the first quarter, 12.6%. And only 11.5% menstruated during the time of the full moon. The research, that's huge, you guys. That's huge. That's hugely supportive evidence. The research also indicated that 28% of women in the study had a menstrual cycle the length of 29.5 days. This cycle was also shown to be the most fertile. The study also found that the heterosexual women who engaged in regular weekly sex had cycles more closely related to the moon cycle than women whose sex life was either sporadic or celibate in nature. The study further indicated that male pheromones may be involved in aligning a woman's menstrual cycle to the so-called normal cycle commencing with the new moon. Okay, we did it in under 30 minutes. I know that was a lot of information. Next, we're going to come back with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we're going to be going over my husband Alex's. I'm going to be reading from his phone on my very favorite page online, which is called The Fountain of Life, okay? And it's all about the amazing power of menstrual blood and how sacred it is. Okay, come back and join me for the third installment of the Sacred Menstrual Blood. Bless you guys.